Let's dial in somebody who used to work in that building behind him, Kayleigh McEnany, co-host of Outnumbered and former White House press secretary. And she's got a brand new book that comes out today. It's called For Such a Time as This. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Kayleigh,
thank you. Hey,
good to join you guys.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
So today they're going to have a secure video call. The last time they talked, our president said, you better stop with the ransomware attacks from Russia. They continue. So you wonder if Vladimir is going to actually be listening.
I don't think he will be listening to words. What Vladimir Putin understands is one thing, and it's action and it's strength. He understood when President Trump expelled 60 Russian intel officers. He understood when the consulate presence was shut down on the West Coast. You know, he understood sanctions. He understood, as Robert O'Brien said, we've sanctioned more entities in Russia. There's virtually nothing left to sanction. That was the Trump actions. But now we've got Biden words, and we've also got Biden actions, like greenlighting Nord Stream 2. You brought it up, Brian, giving the hacking list. Like, these are off limits, but go hack these entities. It's essentially a green light. So unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of tough actions on Russia. So I think the words will be hollow. I hope not, but we'll see.
But if the invasion takes place, I think President Biden knows he can't afford another foreign policy disaster, nor can his party. So think about the stakes, Kayleigh, and how much is scripted and how much isn't. How much was done in the preparation for this by staffers, or is this one of those things where it's head-to-head, we don't know how this is going to go?
Well, it's staffers that are preparing this, and Biden, of course, will be briefed and well prepared by his team. That being said, I mean, Putin's notorious for knowing how to push buttons, change things, and you have to be equipped, you have to be deft, you have to be on your feet, you have to know the games that Putin inevitably will play, and I'm not certain any of those words describe the current president and his capabilities on the world stage. Again, I want the best for our country. I hope he's tough. I hope he takes firm actions. I hope that Putin walks away understanding you can't act in the way, let's say, China's doing with hypersonic missiles, or North Korea. You know, they're back to their antics. But I don't know if they will understand that, because we all see Biden's capabilities.
Well, I know you stood where Jen Psaki is standing, and she was dodging some questions yesterday when a reporter from the New York Post, who is friends and colleague of Miranda Devine, who wrote the laptop book, and he was asking about transparency. Watch this exchange, and we'll get your comment on the other side.
The Biden administration today put out a big report about addressing corruption. The first son's attorney said that he has finally divested from a Chinese investment fund controlled by state-owned entities. I was hoping you could commit to basic transparency about that transaction. And the second question is, my colleague Miranda Devine has a new book out called The Laptop from Hell, and I was hoping that you could confirm that the laptop is indeed authentic and not Russian disinformation, as you seemed to suggest on Twitter last year.
Well, on the first, the president's son is not an employee of the federal government, so I'd point you to his representatives. And as it relates to the book, I have neither had the time nor interest in exploring or reading the book.
Well, that's news. So she won't answer questions about people who don't work for the federal government.
Yeah, that's what we call a dodge. And yes, you're exactly right on that double standard. But the problem with this is Biden told us a year ago, I will not have a conflict with my family members and their business dealings, or an appearance of a conflict. Isn't it an appearance of a conflict when he's on the phone with President Xi of China for 3.5 hours, and we don't know if at that moment Hunter had already divested his business dealings from BHR Partners, the same entity that was formed 12 days after Hunter went on Air Force 2 with Biden? That is an appearance of a conflict of interest, and Psaki should answer and not just dodge.
Well, and all she said is talk to his representative, and the New York Post has contacted his representative repeatedly, and he's not talking.
Yeah, that's what we call a circular. I refer you here, I refer you back to here, and we're not going to answer any of your questions or be transparent.
That's called circling back.
That's called circling back, yes, or refer you to the Gallerist, which is the new circle back.
How do you prepare for something like that? For example, when that story breaks and that book comes out, don't you have to study it? When you know there's a hit book coming out on the President Trump, don't you have to have some somewhat competence on the things that you're going to be challenged on?
If you're a Republican, because to my knowledge, I think that was the only question asked about Hunter Biden from the New York Post. Yes, if you're a Republican, you could take it to the bank that when I took to the podium, the Woodward book was going to dominate every single question from reporters. But she can walk to the podium knowing she's going to get maybe one, maybe two. If Peter Doocy's in there, she'll get a tough question.
Well, he's out on the front yard today. You know, we've been talking talking, and the president has been talking about the supply chain crisis, how it's all hands on deck, and he's trying to solve the problem at the ports. And now they come out with news yesterday that apparently, remember, there were like 125 earlier. Now they're down to 46, and that sounds really good, except there's a ship tracking outfit called Marine Traffic, and then they say there's actually 100 ships waiting to come in. But what they've done, they've started a new queuing program. So rather than just be right offshore, some of them are 40 miles out, some are 150 miles out. There are some sailors who have been on ships waiting to unload since October. So, you know, the president can say, I've got this thing all figured out, but it's not figured out.
No, they'll take a victory lap, but you're exactly right, Steve. It's a shell game because they're just 150 miles out instead of just waiting there in the port. Meanwhile, you know, I watched your last segment. First of all, who eats a bagel without cream cheese? You
Exactly.
can't. But 90% of small business owners saying they're having supply issues. It's a huge, huge problem. So no victory laps are merited.
Yeah, and it's affecting businesses. You've seen the headlines of these bagel owners that can't get their cream cheese. Yeah. And it's one thing if you can't get cream cheese for your child at home. It's another when it is your business. Watch this.
Time is money too. You're running around all day. You're on the phone all day trying to get it from everybody, and then when you can't get it, you're running around to stores trying to get it. So you know you're not in your store as much as you have to be. I usually get an order at about 5:30 in the morning, and I spoke to my guy. I said, "Well, where are you?" He goes, "We're waiting for a truck to come in. I'll let you know by 9 o'clock if I can get if the truck comes in." So my thing is I'm about a week and a half on cream cheese. After that, I don't, you know, if they keep up with the shortage, I really don't even know what to do other than make my own. Try to make my own, I guess.
Or he might have to start using tofu cream cheese, which he really doesn't want to do. But you know, he's indicative of the fact that all across the country there are people who can't find things at the grocery store. Forget about our Christmas gifts. Can't get the kids one of those things, there are other options. But if you want a particular food item and it's not there, it's like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. And then the business owners suffer the repercussions. Yeah, it's the consumer, of course, but you know, small businesses slammed by COVID, slammed by vaccine mandates, slammed by lockdowns, and now slammed by a supply shortage, and slammed even more by a White House who says, you really have no problems, we fixed it, there's ships in the ports when we can all see the shelves.
Can you imagine if one of the things you asked for Christmas was cream cheese? So not only do you not have it, it's going to be terrible. Let's talk about infighting amongst Republicans. A little surprised to see failed Senate candidate, Senator Perdue, go down. I guess he wanted President Trump to see if he could endorse him to run against Warnock this time. He didn't get it, left Mar-a-Lago, and now we find out he's going to run against Brian Kemp. Does this hurt or help the party?
Look, I trust Republican voters, primary voters, to decide who's best for the state of Georgia. We'll see. I think you're right to kind of hint at the preeminent concern is making sure Stacey Abrams is never governor of Georgia. I know she's that in her imagination, but to know, in fact, that she doesn't become governor of Georgia. And it was recently, this race, put into the toss-up category by Cook Political Reports. So, hey, whichever candidate can beat Stacey Abrams, that's who it needs to be. Conservatives will decide.
All right. Today's your big day. Tell us about your book.
The book.
Yes, I'm so excited. And Ainsley, thank you for having me on Ainsley's Bible study. It was so fun.
You can watch it on Fox Nation.
Yeah, so, you know, it's about my faith journey. And the White House, there are ups and downs. There were some big downs, like the president getting COVID-19. In life, there are ups and downs. But my Savior, Jesus Christ, has always been right there beside me. And he shows up, especially during the valleys in life. And that's what this book's about. There's a lot of Bible verses and inspiration. And it's more than just my time in the White House. It's about me battling the breast cancer gene, BRCA2 genetic mutation, and so much more.
Right. Also, you have the Oxford background, you got the Harvard background, you have the CNN background. First off, what did you get from Harvard?
From Harvard, I learned how to battle leftists because a lot of my professors and colleagues were leftists, and it's a trait that I think I brought to the podium, holding the press accountable, and all of those institutions, which aren't necessarily conservative ones, kind of prepped me for that, specifically CNN and 8-on-1 panels where I was constantly outnumbered.
First-year law school down in Florida, in Miami, South Florida, and her professor said, you are so smart, I hate to lose you, but I really think you need to apply at Harvard. She applied, got accepted, and finished out her law school there.
That's right.
For such a time as this, just like Queen Esther, you're an incredible Christian, you're an incredible woman, mother, wife, and you've done so much at such a young age. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Ainsley.
We all are.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, do you want to read an excerpt?
Well, if it was in the teleprompter, we could.
I haven't memorized
Do you have it memorized? Can you
I
read
do.
an excerpt?
It's an excerpt about, I was in a meeting with Bill Barr, Kellyanne, myself, and everyone was telling President Trump, get out of the Obamacare lawsuit, sir. You know, we can't be in this. It's going to be tough to, you know, fight this battle during an election. And he looked at me and said, I'll always stand with my base. I'll stand with the voters who put me there. And it told me a lot about President Trump. You know, promises made, promises kept. And I got to see it firsthand in meetings like that.
Right, and a lot of the turbulence you have down here, but you give us the inside perspective, and you also bring what it was like to take the fire.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.